welcome to the Deep Dive.
Hello.
Today, we're tackling something that gets a lot of people talking, like all around the world. Football.
That's right.
Specifically, we're diving into the material you shared with us. We want to figure out, not just how to understand some basic football stats and results, but maybe even more importantly, how you can actually jump into a conversation about the game using some, really great English phrases.
Yeah, you've given us a fantastic set of notes here, some excerpts detailing recent Italian football results, some key terms,
Right.
and also a really practical guide on how to talk about sports more, let's say, naturally in everyday conversation.
So our mission really is to pull out the most useful bits from all this material, see how they fit together, and hopefully equip you to feel more confident when football comes up.
Definitely.
Think of it as a bit of a shortcut to sounding like you know what you're talking about, whether you're, looking at a results table or just chatting with friends.
And by the end of this deep dive, you should have a pretty good grasp of the core facts and phrases, helping you engage with, the beautiful game in English.
Okay, so let's start by unpacking some of the results and the standings you shared. We've got details here about Italian football. Okay, so related to all these results, great little glossary and the section on irregular verbs too.
Ah, yes, the building blocks.
Yeah, terms like goal, match, against, tap, nil, halftime, final score. These are like the absolute basics you need to even read these results properly.
Absolutely, and understanding that nil just means zero, especially in scores like Juventus won 1-0 is, it's crucial.
Right, 1-0.
Or knowing halftime is that middle break, and final score is simply the result at the very end. These terms really do build the foundation for understanding any match report or conversation.
And then you've got those slightly tricky irregular verbs. The material points out the key ones for talking about what happened in the past. So win becomes won, beat stays beat, which is a bit confusing.
Can be, yeah.
Draw with or draw against becomes drew, and lose to becomes lost to.
And using the example straight from the material makes it clearer, I think. Like, we won 2-1, or we beat Sampdoria 2-1.
Yeah.
We drew 3-3 with Roma. Or against Roma, you can use either. And we lost 1-2 to Milan.
That to with lost is important, and the correction section in the notes is actually really helpful here. It shows common errors people make.
Oh yeah, like what?
Well, like using draw when they mean the past tense drew, or getting the prepositions wrong, saying playing with a team instead of playing against them.
Right.
Or lost with instead of lost to, or even won by 2-0 instead of 2-0.
That's a good point. Nil is definitely more common in football scores.
And things like beated instead of beat, or using win for the past instead of won.
It really shows that getting these, small details right, especially the past tenses and the correct little words like to or with or against, it makes a big difference in sounding, accurate and natural when you talk about a match that already happened.
Okay, so with the material we've covered just now, you can look at a table, figure out who's top, read the basic results, and correctly describe who won, lost, or drew using the right verbs and terms like nil and final score.
That's a really solid base for understanding the sort of factual side of the game.
Yeah, but understanding the facts is only like one part of it, isn't it?
Sure.
What happens when someone actually asks you about the game? Start the conversation.
Right.
That's where the second source you shared comes in handy. It focuses much more on how to actually talk about sports in conversation.
Yeah, it moves beyond just the data. It starts with some pretty simple conversation starters, which is always helpful.
Exactly. Like, did you watch the football game last night? Or maybe, do you like football? Or even, who is your favorite team? Straightforward ways to kick things off.
But then the material quickly suggests moving towards more natural-sounding phrases. Things like, did you catch the game last night?
Well, I like that one. Catch the game.
Yeah, or maybe making a comment like, wow, that match was wild.
Catch the game. That's a fantastic phrase they highlight. It just means watch the game. Right?
Exactly.
The examples show how flexible it is. Did you catch the basketball game yesterday? Or, we're going to catch the final at Mark's place. It sounds, much more common than just saying, did you watch sometimes.
It definitely does. And hey, remember that incredible Napoli versus Roma result we saw in the first source?
Yeah, the 2-2 draw after Roma were winning 2-0.
Well, the perfect word for what Napoli managed to do is right here in this second source. Comeback.
Ah, yes, the perfect connection. A comeback is exactly that, turning a losing situation around, often ending in a win, or like in Napoli's case, a really dramatic draw from being behind.
The examples capture the excitement, too. That comeback was legendary, or they made an amazing comeback.
It's amazing how one word like comeback can just capture so much drama and emotion from a game.
Totally. Another useful term they mention is dribble through. That means, moving past opponents while keeping control of the ball.
Right, like the example, he dribbled through 3 defenders. Or she's great at dribbling through tight spaces. This very specific action verb paints a real picture.
It does. And then there's a bit of slang mentioned, too. Football junkie.
A junkie. Okay.
Yeah, basically, if you hear someone called a football junkie, they just absolutely love football. They live and breathe it.
Ah, okay. Like the example, my brother's a total football junkie.
It's just a casual way to describe someone who's really passionate.
Exactly. Your weekends are probably full if you're a football junkie.
Right. Did you catch the game? No, I missed it. Was it any good?
Oh yeah, epic comeback. They were losing 2, then won 3-2.
Whoa. That sounds insane. Who scored the last goal?
Tom. He dribbled through everyone. You'd love it. See, that little exchange really shows how these phrases just flow naturally in a real conversation.
It does. Also gives some great tips for making your language sound even more natural, not just the words you use.
Like what sort of tips?
Well, things like using stress on words that carry emotion, saying awesome or unreal.
Ah, okay. Emphasizing the feeling.
Exactly. And raising your pitch slightly on questions like, do you catch the game? It makes it sound more like a question.
And using contractions, like do the instead of spelling out did you.
Precisely. It's not just about having the right vocabulary, but also about using the kind of rhythm and intonation that native speakers often use. That's that final layer, really, that helps build conversational confidence.
Okay.
So instead of just asking a very basic, did you watch the game? You can actually use that knowledge you have.
How so?
Well, you could say something like, did you catch the game last night? I saw that Juventus-Inter match result, only 1-0, sounded pretty tense, and Quadrado scored. Right.
Ah, I see. That's much more specific, much more engaging. You're showing you know something already.
Or you can use the terms precisely when talking about the score. Yeah, the final score was 1-0 to Juventus.
And if you were talking about that Napoli-Roma game, you could immediately talk about Napoli's incredible comeback.
Yes. Combining the factual details with the natural conversational language, that really is the key. It moves you from just understanding the information
to actively participating in the chat.
Exactly. Just like the second source highlights, helping you speak real, everyday English with confidence.
It gives you something specific and, well, interesting to talk about, and then the language tools to talk about it in an engaging way.
Precisely. It turns that knowledge into, you could say, conversation currency. Makes the chat richer.
Okay, so let's quickly recap our deep dive then. We pulled out the key details from your notes on Italian football results and standings, making sure we understand terms like played, won, lost, points, goals for, against, top, nil, halftime, final score.
And getting those essential irregular verbs sorted out like win won, beat, draw drew, and especially lose lost to getting those prepositions right.
Yeah. And then we explored the language you shared for actually having football conversations, using phrases like catch the game,
describing a thrilling comeback, or how players dribble through opponents,
and even understanding a bit of slang like football junkie. Plus, those practical tips on intonation and contractions to sound more natural.
So you now have a pretty fantastic toolkit, really, for understanding basic football information and for, starting, joining, and navigating conversations about the sport.
And it's all about putting that knowledge into practice, isn't it? And having some fun with it.
Absolutely. It's about using these shared interests like football to build connections with people.
Which actually leads us to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe ponder on. Really shows us that whether we're looking at, precise statistics or just casual chats and slang, having that shared enthusiasm for something like football creates a kind of common language, doesn't it? A way to connect.
It really does.
So maybe think about this. How can finding other interests you share with people help you practice and connect using the language you're learning, whatever that language might be?
That's a powerful idea to consider as you continue learning.
Definitely. So, okay, what does all this really mean for you listening? Well, I think it means you absolutely can join in on sports conversations in English, even if you don't feel like an expert.
Definitely. Having these key phrases handy, understanding what they mean, and just paying a bit of attention to simple things like your tone, your stress, it can make a huge difference. You'll feel more confident just jumping in.
And these kinds of topics, these everyday things like sports, there are honestly perfect chances to practice your English in a low-pressure way.
They really are. They're relatable. Most people have some opinion or happy to chat about them.
So maybe here's something to think about. A final thought for you. The last time you heard people talking about a match or a game, maybe at work, maybe with friends, could you picture yourself jumping in now using one or two of these phrases we talked about today?
Yeah, could you have got that conversation? Something to mull over.